Welcome to the rolling Kent countryside for round 2 of the Blancpain Sprint Cup. Spring weather hopefully will last all weekend here at Brands Hatch. The opening race at Misano brought action aplenty. The sun was shining at Misano as Frank Pereira took the lead at the start, resisting the challenge in turn 1 from Michael Meadows and Vincent Abril. Rob Bell was in the thick of the action in his McLaren, and the Intermarque rivalry was absolutely intense, with Christian Engelhardt's Grasser Racing Lamborghini tipped into this spin. With the Italian circuit packed with corners, action was absolutely ensured. Reigning Sprint Cup champion Enzo Ida went for this rotation, falling from 6th to 18th place, as almost all of the problems early in the race seemed to befall the Audis. Andrew Watson went on a charge in the 59 Straka Racing McLaren, and when the pit stops began, the 90 Mercedes of Meadows and Marciello was in the hunt but had a wheel nut problem and had to pit twice. The heat was on in the fight for second place, and Stephen Kane had to work really hard to resist Dominic Baumann in the 86 Mercedes, causing nervous moments for team boss Malcolm Wilson. Pressure from Juncker Deya in the 88 Mercedes and Christoph Haas in the Sansalot Racing Audi, which gave Kane just enough breathing space to take second place. A second to fifth are covered by just 1.6 seconds. No one, though, could match the combined pace of Franck Pereira and Maxi Bou, who got their season off to a stunning start, winning by 23 seconds. Team WRT is entering a pair of Audi R8 LMSs at Brands Hatch. One, the number 17, for Robin Friens and Stuart Leonard, plus the number 3 entry of GP3 race winner Jake Dennis, who is partnered this year by Dutch racer Peter Schothorst in a pairing that kicked off with 10th place in the opener at Misano, and they certainly weren't happy with that.
It's been, like I said, a struggle for the start of the year, but obviously we managed to score 1 point at Misano and finish top Audi car, and then obviously Monza was a struggle again, but again we finished top Audi, so we're sort of doing the best job we can at the moment, but obviously the competition is tough, but we're looking obviously at scoring double points this weekend. We know the car is going to be good. I'm sure WRT have got a good setup, so I'm just looking forward to driving tomorrow.
It has already been very much a season of highs and lows for Bentley Team M Sport. The number 8 Continental will be raced at Brands Hatch by long-time Bentley pairing Andy Soucek and Maxime Soulet, while the number 7 crew of Stephen Kane and Vincent Abril started well with second place at Misano. And this has really fired up their ambition for overall title honours across this season, 10 races in both the Sprint and the Endurance Cups.
Obviously to try and win both championships and be overall GT champion, but you know, we have to take every race as it comes here at Bentley, and you know, coming to Brands for the first time this year in 2017, our home race, my home race. I've been here for years and I love the place, so really looking forward to it and trying to, you know, get on the podium this weekend again.
Rob Bell and Andrew Watson in number 59 McLaren are part of a concerted 4-car Straka racing attack, with Ben Barnicoat, another single-seater driver who's turned his focus to GT racing to further his racing career and is now benefiting considerably from being paired with the hugely experienced Alvaro Parent in the number 58 sister car.
So far I'm really enjoying my time in Blancpain GT. Obviously we haven't had much luck with 2 incidents at Misano, and then we also got caught up in the crash at the start in Monza, so we've not had the best of luck, but we definitely had the speed, so that's the main thing as a racing driver. As long as you're fast, you're happy, but you know, looking forward to some good results coming. It's great to be driving with McLaren and Straka Racing. It's a very good opportunity for me, and to have good teammates like Alvaro here in Brands Hatch, as well as Rob Bell and Com Ledegaard in Endurance Series. It's good for me to improve myself, and it's a good benchmark because they've proven themselves as successful drivers, and that's what I aspire to be.
GRT, Grasser Racing Team, Lamborghini Huracan racers Ezekiel Perez Companc and Norbert Siedler will definitely be hoping for better luck after a torrid time last time out in Monza, where their misfortune was balanced by victory in the Endurance Cup round for their sister car, the number 63, which will really have boosted the confidence of its drivers, Christian Engelhardt and Mirko Bortolotti. The German and Italian pairing are coming to Brands Hatch, not hoping for victory, but actually expecting to achieve their aim.
Our goal from the very start of the season was to fight at the front. This is what we try to do every race. We do our best. We had a really good start in the Endurance Cup in Monza, and now we hope to achieve a good result also in the Sprint Cup.
Maximilian Buch and Franck Pereira set the gold standard with victory at Misano, where they won the opening round of the Sprint Cup by 23 seconds in their grey and red number 84 Mercedes. That's a huge margin in the ever-competitive Blancpain GT Series. They weren't alone in the HTP Motorsport Mercedes camp in showing great pace, and the speed of teammates Jules Simkowiak and Fabian Schiller in the Italian Opel suggests they too could get in the mix with a really top result around the twists and turns of the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit.
It's the third year in a row that I'm doing this championship, and it's so strong. It's building every single year. There are big names in the sport, and I'm actually quite proud and pleased to be in this because it's really competitive.
The ACA ASP team has shown very well from the outset of the season with its quartet of Mercedes AMGs, with the number 89 of Christophe Bourret and Jean-Philippe Belloc racing well in the Pro-Am class. However, up front it looks increasingly as though Michael Meadows has an absolute gem as his partner in the number 90, in the form of Italian GP2 star Raffaele Marciello.
It's a really difficult track to overtake because it's so high speed. I think probably turn 2 up to Druids is a good opportunity if you put some pressure on at turn 1. The hardest part of the track is definitely out the back. There's a couple of corners that are really high speed but with bumps on the exit and stuff, so if you're naive and try to be too aggressive, then you'll come unstuck, and it's when you crash at Brands, it's generally weekend over. It's not fixable, so it's important just to build up to it so you peak in qualifying in Q3 and stick it on the front row.
Row Racing proved last year that it could make the BMW M6 a winner by taking the Blancpain GT Series' Blue Ribbon event to Spa 24 Hours. This year, Jesse Krohn and Marcus Pautela have shown well in the number 98 M6. And this weekend, Portuguese racer Antonio Felix da Costa joins Philippe Eng in the number 99 to see what he can do.
It's a complete new challenge with a new team for me, and also here at the Blancpain Championship and here at Brands Hatch. It's my first time in the big track, in the GP track, and I really like it because it's a little bit old school, going back to the roots. On top of that, sharing the car with Philip is really good. He's been helping me to get to grips with the M6 because I'm a little bit new to this GT3 stuff. So all in all, it's been cool, it's been fun, and now we're chasing good results as obvious, and excited.
There are 4 Ferrari crews entered for the Sprint Cup at Brands Hatch this weekend, and of these, Alexander Matschel and Daniel Kalditz arrived looking to add to their Pro-Am class victory at Misano, 14th place overall in their Rinaldi Ferrari.
One of my goals in the Pro-Am is we go for the championship. It's a really tough championship, but we try to do it.
Welcome to Brands Hatch on a grey spring day. Quite cool, but the winds of yesterday, John Watson joining me in the commentary box, have dropped, but now we've got a pack grid, 31 cars. We had hoped for 33, but the circuit bit back yesterday. We lost 2 cars against the barriers out at Stirling's.
Yeah, we had 2 cars, Lamborghini, the Reiter Lamborghini, and then the 44 McLaren of young Lewis Hazeman, son of Tony Hazeman, Twan Hazeman. There we get an indication, ambience are cool, track temperature's cool. We saw a number of cars cycling through the pits before they actually came onto the grid to try and get some core temperature into the wheels and tyres. And there you can see around the track, well and truly wrapped up. But let's hope what they're going to see very shortly will soon warm them up.
I'm sure it will. The Blancpain GT Series gets better and better year on year, but to have, what was supposed to be 33 cars, 31 cars is plenty. As you can see, it absolutely packs out the pit straight, and the grid could hardly be closer together. But if you're with the GRT Grasser team, you need to speak to the man at the top. And Dakota has got Gottfried Grasser.
Gottfried, starting P1 and P4, you're in a good position now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, to be honest, a little bit of a dream because it's the first time in a sprint race. We were quite good in endurance all the time with the Huracan GT3, and now in the sprint to put the 2 cars here in this position is absolutely amazing for us. And again in Brands Hatch, so we like this track very much, and we push for a win for the sprint. This would be really nice.
Well, I hope you can get that win. Now we're going to turn over to the drivers. Christian, come here.
Yeah.
Wow, what a place to be. Starting P1. Now, Mirko had an absolutely flying lap yesterday. Do you think you boys can repeat this today?
Yeah, we try our best. A race is always a race, and first we have to keep the lead at the start, which is clearly the target when we start from pole position. We're very motivated. I think we have a really good team behind us, really good car today, hopefully. So let's see what happens in the race.
Now, if the weather turns nasty, what it looks like it might rain, is that going to be a problem for you?
No, it shouldn't be a problem, but I don't expect it to rain. Honestly, it was drizzling a little bit this morning, but it has stopped, and the track has ever been dry the whole day. So I hope it won't rain, to be honest, in the position we are in. But if it rains, then so it is.
Cheers, good luck.
Thanks.
Well, I think Christian's got a better handle on the weather coming than Dakota did down on the grid. I expect to stay drive for the remainder of the race. 31 cars, worth pointing out, the top 17 went out for the qualifying shootout at the end, and 16 of them covered by 1 second. But that Mirko Bortolotti lap to put the 63 Lamborghini on pole, he was clear by half a second. The rest covered by nothing. What has he found, John? We talked about this last night.
Almost an unheard of gap between front row sitters, first and second quickest. I mean, all of a sudden, just massive half a second, and that is in our terms massive. So Bortolotti found something with the tyres or the suspension.
Well, let's hear from Enzo Ida down on the grid.
Enzo, now this is a track for you.
Yeah, we will see. Last year we were successful, and after a difficult start in Misano this year, we are back in front, at least in qualifying, so the race will be something else. Two races are really close to each other, so the goal is to not have any problems in the first race and then do the best in the second race. But it will be very hard. The Lamborghini was really fast yesterday, so we will try our best, and let's see.
Well, let's see what you got. Be sure to thank Chris for me for giving some light entertainment to the crowd behind still. Thank you.
Christopher Monkey Me is always mucking around, but when he gets in the car, he is super, super serious, John. Front row, look how narrow the grid is. That is the place to start at Brands Hatch. So part of the job has been done by last year's Sprint Cup.
Yes,
winners.
indeed. I mean, being at the front row of the grid, particularly on a circuit like Brands Hatch, where we know historically overtaking has been an issue. Everybody is so closely matched lap times. As you see that looking up towards the beginning of what would be the fastest part of the racetrack. And here's the graphic of the layout. 9 turns of the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Total length is 2.43 miles, 3.9 kilometers. Elevation change, you can see on the map, it goes to the highest point actually out at Westfield Bend. You might think that Druids was the highest point, but it is actually Westfield. Lots of these corners are difficult to find your apex because you're going into them on an incline, so you're looking almost to the point where you turn before you can actually see it.
Well, the grid is already being cleared, John, so we're getting a chance to see the cars with the personnel being stripped clear, all the Blancpain, Pirelli flags and the team flags. So you can see Bentley, Stracker Racing, WRT moving off. The fanfare is dropping away.
You asked me a question just a moment before we got into that last interview about the 63 Lamborghini. Where did it find that pace? My view was that Mirko Bortolotti found the best possible way to turn on the Pirelli tyre. This is a new tyre for 2017, and some drivers or teams are finding it more adaptable to turn it on quickly, but other people are suggesting that Lamborghini maybe have done in the 63 car in particular, a little bit of trick setup, which might involve, in effect, what you'd call stagger. In other words, biasing the car to work better in right-hand corners, which is what the predominant corner direction that Brands Hatch is. And whatever the sacrifice is in the few left-hand corners, they don't really matter massively. So another little thought, maybe the Grasser Racing is locked into something that might be the key to going quickly here this weekend.
Just going on down the grid, John. 87 on the left of the screen, that's the top Pro-Am starter. Jules Gounon will be starting in 13th position, one of 4 cars from the ACA ASP Mercedes crew. 42 McLaren on the right-hand side. Lewis Williamson will be sharing that with one of the new drivers this weekend, David Fuminelli, brought on board because Nick Leventis injured himself out at Monza, hasn't recovered. Bentley down mid-order. You didn't expect that when we came to Brands Hatch. 7 and 8, there's 8. Way down the order, a bit of smoke coming out the back. It's all right, that's blown away. The Thai Ferrari on the left-hand side of the grid. Spirit of Race Ferrari tucked in behind. That was Bronicheski as well. And 8 now at the back, number 85. How has that ended up? That's Jules Simkowiak, who is sharing that. It'll be started by Fabian Schiller. Why at the back, John? Basically,
You have to nominate your drivers for qualifying. They nominated their drivers, but then when they came to take the qualifying 1 and qualifying 2, the drivers were out of order with what they had not officially nominated the organisation with, and then consequently they had to take a penalty, and the penalty is go to the back of the grid, and that's a pretty severe penalty because the chances of doing anything in this 1 hour sprint race is restricted. They might get midfield, hopefully they will get midfield before the hour is up. That'll help them when we get into the major race this afternoon.
Now, one thing that Enzo Ida, last year's Sprint Cup champion, pointed out, the important thing is to pick up points in both races. It's keep your nose clean, but the best place to start is from the front of the grid. He knows his teammate Christopher Mies is on the outside of the front row, alongside the pole-sitting Lamborghini number 63, which will be started by the man who took the pole, Mirko Bortolotti, but it's an absolutely packed field of 31 cars.
Yes, and one of the, I think, subjects of discussion over the weekend is with these rolling starts. As we saw at Monza, there's a massive shunt before we even got into turn one. And I think the view from some of the competitors is they would like to see the field being maybe released. In other words, the race getting underway before they get to the start-finish line, maybe midway down the pit lane, the lights could go green or the lights couldn't go out. And then the race gets underway, which would mean that there will be still in effect cars filing through the exit of clearways and maybe avoid some of the very tight compacting that we saw at Monza.
John, let's take you down the start grid. Mirko Bortolotti, 63, Lamborghini on pole, Christian Mies alongside for Audi. Then the mix of cars, a BMW, Jesse Krohn will start the 98 and the second Lamborghini from Grasser. Then Audi's highest place is in 5th place. Marco Mappelli's going increasingly well in that 66 Lamborghini. And Robin Freitz, with his knee injury, back on board this weekend for WRT. McLaren, the best placed car. Parent will start that in 9th position overall. But as we saw on that ride down through the grid with the Segway, Bentley way down the order. The top of the Pro-Am runners will be in 13th position. That's Jules Gounon, and that's still ahead of those two Works Bentleys. Haven't even got them. That's how far we're looking down the order. The top 17 went out and did their times, but they didn't get into the top half of the order. There, Stephen Kane, better placed in 19th position, not where he came to Brands Hatch and expected to start.
No, I mean, a very surprising, disappointing performance from Bentley, 10th and 12th rows of the grid. Now, let's keep an eye on what's going to happen as they come down into clearways. The safety car will peel off. I'm assuming it's going to do it this time around. We're going to get the two formation laps, which has now become the form for the start of these rolling starts for the 2017 season. Gives everybody.
No, this is it. He's peeled into the pit lane. Very late peel off by the safety car. So on the left of the screen, Mirko Bortolotti. On the outside in the Audi, had already lost position there. Looks as though up from 3rd place we could have a change. Will Jesse Krohn get up? A great start by our race leader. Christian Mies has fallen from 2nd down to 3rd. So
contact already, but the Audi has been turned around in the middle of paddock.
Christopher Haase lost out there for Sansalot Racing. Looks like he's going to get back on, but he's lost. Well, he's dropped down about 20 positions. So BMW enjoying a move up to 2nd place, and the sister car 99 also getting in on the act, and Alvaro Parent pushing very hard indeed for McLaren, trying to gain some position. Down to Graham Hill Bend. This is Stephen Kane starting down in about 19th position over the curbs and wide. In fact, the sister car as well.
He's got a puncture. The Ferrari's got a right rear puncture, so that's going to make its way back to the pits rather slowly because it's a long way bound. And again, coming through. Oh, contact with the Bentley again, coming out of Surtees. I'd hoped that we would see pretty clean start, but what we're seeing is not what we had hoped for on board with the number 7 Bentley.
Well, we've largely got away with it so far, but that was a vicious snap for Stephen Kane to contain. But from pole position, Mirko Bortolotti led away. Look how close it is, nose to tail around the back part of the circuit, going through Westfield and now down into Dingledale. Stephen Kane, we're glad we got the camera on board his car. But out front, there is the number 7 Bentley. He's got position to gain, and not an easy circuit on which to do so. You've got to get a good exit from Stirling's and try and carry that speed all the way down. Start, finish straight, paddock, and then up to Druids, and maybe you can make that move stick. But out front, it's Mirko Bortolotti, and a very good start indeed for Jesse Krohn to get into 2nd position. The first 2 cars already starting to drop. Christopher Mies, it's much closer further down in the pack. Norbert Siedler coming through in 4th place. Danny Juncadella in 5th, and Marco Mappelli going very well indeed in 6th. And Stephen Kane, we saw him have that little twitchy moment. 88, that's Juncadella in 5th place. Lost position there to Marco Mappelli at Paddock Hill Bend on the 2nd time around. I said get a good exit from Stirling, you can carry that speed. So a little bit of a heart in the mouth moment there.
Yes, and you've got Philip Eng directly behind the Mercedes in a hail of dirt on the left hand side wheels, tyres. The other Mercedes runs way wide coming out of Bottom Bend, or Graham Hill Bend as it is. Christopher Mies, the loser in effect in the opening lap, and particularly Jesse Krohn got a slightly better run up into Paddock Hill Bend, and Christopher Mies could not respond.
I was just quite surprised. I thought Christian Mies would be running alongside on the charge up to Paddock Hill Bend, but he was dropped by the time they got to the start-finish line, and already that was the point at which BMW was making the move. 74 pushing hard, but 90 trying to hang in there. That's Raffaele Marciello. He's just lost a bit. We've lost car number 67. Which is the second Tempto car. That's shared by Max van Spunter and Nicolas Pola this weekend, and that's Pola who's off the circuit at turn 6. The TP12 Ferrari has come in for its pit stop after that puncture that you picked up on, John, very early on. Maybe that came from that clash at the first corner that saw the Santalot racing Audi going off into the gravel. That managed to rejoin, but it's right down at the tail of the field. And at the end of the second lap, the gap has really gone at 1.6 seconds. There's the proof of that ahead of Jesse Krohn's BMW, then Christopher Mies and Norbert Siegler in the second of the Grasser Lamborghinis is still in fourth place. But as we saw, Juncadella lost fifth place to Marco Mappelli last time around.
Yeah, just at this point of the circuit, Juncadella ran wide coming out of paddock, and Mappelli in the Lamborghini just didn't need to be invited the second time, so we come back down side by side. One of the problems
one of the Audi has just missed a gear or something. Something's a puncture. Well spotted, John. Very slow through Graham Hill Bend, and suddenly we saw Norbert Siegler going up into third position. So it's Lamborghini's first and third, and then now up to fourth place overall is the Grasser Lamborghini.
Yes.
It's the Marco Mappelli Lamborghini. So it's going to be a very long lap of limping home, unfortunately, for the number one Audi. So Enzo Ida said on the grid, we just need to be sensible in this race. I'm not saying you're not sensible by getting a puncture, but that's over.
I mean, we didn't see any contact, and maybe that's just running over a curb or picking up something in the racetrack, whatever it is. It's going to see that number one Audi fall back down to the tail of the field. It's a long lap. Here, there's the Lamborghini
off the side on the exit of Westfield, going down into Dingledale.
So it's safely on the inside of the circuit, so we'll need for a safety car or for yellow flag. We have got yellow flag now being waved or shown. So coming down, and Vincent Abril looking, tension on his face, wondering what Stephen Kane is able to do. Kane all the way down, still in 17th place.
Yeah, in the thick of the battle, but trying to make a move. He's lining up the car in front of him, but he's up to 16th now with the number one Audi limping its way back. Oh yes, bodywork damage on the back of Bentley. That is Abril's car that's had the tap. It got very close. Remember going out of Surtees on the opening lap when someone ran wide and they were three abreast. And that's when the tap came. Bodywork slightly rubbing there. I think I saw a bit of smoke. Stephen Kane working hard through Graham Hill Bend.
Yeah, running behind Philippe Salaquado. There is the Audi into the pits, and he's managed to get it back. Where that puncture came from, we didn't see any contact. Effectively, Christopher Mies had been running in clear air from what we could see. He had the Siedler 19 car directly behind him, but I don't think there was any contact with that particular car. So on board again with Stephen Kane through Hawthorne's.
A look at the side shot. You can see the bodywork rubbing on the rubber a little bit. Let's hope that doesn't lead to anything untoward, but it's got to get to the half-hour point in the race. It's a 1 hour race. He's chasing after Philippe Salacada, but that won't be helping that flapping bodywork.
The fixings have been damaged, so that's flapping around. Ideally, they don't want to have that. If it gets any worse, we'll have to wait and see. As you go on board, this is the car that's leading the Bentley directly behind Philippe Salacada. Back into clearways. 55 Ferrari following through.
So our race leading Lamborghini, 3 Lamborghinis in the first 4 places, but Mirko Bortolotti got that great start from pole position. Looking now at the tail end of the field, you can see Spirit of Race Ferrari, the Kessel Racing Ferrari. They got dropped unusually by Michael Broniczewski in practice yesterday morning, and sporting a bit of unliveried bodywork at the back. McLaren's not right in the mix this weekend. We already lost the number 44 yesterday with a big hit for Loris Hasemans on the exit of Sterling's, but the best place for them is the number 58 up in 7th place overall. Alvaro Parent will be handing that over to Ben Barnicoat, but the sister car's not where we expected to find them.
No, in fact there have been a number of team car driver combinations that have struggled here. Partly they think maybe through the wind, partly through the track temperatures being cool, but same for everybody. So Alvaro Parent in 7th place, he's just under half a second behind the BMW in 6th.
Yeah, well, here's a look at the replay and of the hit the curb on the inside. The Sansalot Racing Christopher Haase Audi was incredibly lucky not to be struck as he spun across the pack. Look how close he was to one of the ASP Mercedes. That was Daniel Juncadella who avoided him, and then he came back on. Now, how much gravel did he leave on the track? Maybe that might have caused the puncture.
Could have been us on board. Up into the Mercedes, up hanging high into clearways, giving loads of room there. You can see the Audi rotating round. He did very well to get that out of that gravel trap.
Right, back to the sharp end of the grid. In fact, this is the middle order coming into Paddock Hill Bend one more time. On the curving start-finish straight at Brands Hatch, they drop down into the compression at the bottom of Paddock Hill Bend. Rinaldi Racing Ferrari going well, but he's second in the Pro-Am class, and the car right in front of him on the track in 10th place overall. So going very well is Jules Gounon in the 87 ACA ASP Mercedes, one of 4 they're entering in the race, and they're both ahead of the leading one of the two Bentleys, so that's not a result that would be pleasing Malcolm Wilson and all of those at Bentley Team M Sport.
You know, just watching coming through Graham Hill Bend, lots of cars sliding very wide on the exit, which is indicative that they're all struggling a little bit to get tyre temperature. In the meantime, the lead, Mirko Bortolotti, having set the fastest race lap on his last lap, 1:23.7, now beginning to make a bit more headway, with the second place BMW dropping just over 2 seconds behind, and a further 2.7 seconds behind that is the 19 Grasso Racing Lamborghini of Norbert Siedler.
Now what we're seeing at this stage in the race, Stephen Kane in the number 7 Bentley really pushing Philippe Salicada, but as hard as he pushes, he just cannot find a way past, which is often the story at Brands Hatch. Brilliant circuit to drive on, very, very difficult circuit to race on. There's the third place Lamborghini, the green one of Norbert Siedler. The blue one in fourth is Marco Mappelli. Then comes the best of the Mercedes, number 88, Daniel Juncadelli, and Philippe Eng. So we've got in 99 BMW 6. So three in the top 6, we've got 3 Lamborghinis, 2 BMWs, and that 1 Mercedes. And then behind we get to the Audis.
And Stephen Kane looking now to get past Salaquada. Better run out of Paddock Bend, tried to get up the inside. That was blocked by Salaquada. And all the work that Stephen Kane did into and through Paddock Bend for nothing, because the defence was strong, it was fair. Unfortunately, that's how motor racing is. Unless you're absolutely alongside, then you can't really claim the corner.
Yeah, just looking to see who's progressing. Robin Freitz is now at the sharp end of the Audi field in 8th place overall. He's come back from knee injury. John, you were saying earlier that it's something he seemingly all of the Freitz family seem to suffer from.
I met him this morning and he said that his brother had suffered similar injury, as had his sister. So it just seems to be maybe something within his family, an inherent weakness. But anyway, he can drive the car perfectly fine. He can get in and out of the car reasonably well. It's when he's standing around doing nothing, then all of a sudden the ache comes back. But with the adrenaline rush he's got driving, it's not a problem.
So Alvaro Parent is the car right in front of him in 7th place. That's the best of the McLarens. Alvaro just half a second ahead of Robin Freitz. That's 4th, 5th and 6th. 6th place, the 99 BMW Philippe Eng. Then there's a bit of a gap behind. In the red Mercedes in front of him is Daniel Juncadelli, a driver who yesterday had the greatest save of the weekend so far. Massive moments over the curbs at Stirling's, but somehow held it.
Interesting, looking at the timing and scoring. On that last lap, actually, it was Jesse Krohn in the BMW who was the quicker of the 2 lead cars. So the gap had been up to 2.5 seconds. It's now back to 2.2 seconds. Okay, it's very small margins, but I just wonder whether that was a little error from the lead car or whether Jesse Krohn is now getting a feel for the circuit. But the lap times in the middle 1:24s, but Mirko Bortolotti in the 25s in that last lap.
And having had the fresh tyre put on Christopher Mies's number 1 Audi, he's down in 29th position. He was fastest for all of them last time around, but 29th in the 31 car field. 30 still going. Of course, we lost Nicolas Pola early in the race, going off in the 67 Lamborghini. He is in penultimate position. Those BMWs look very strong indeed, very well balanced.
On board with Philippe Eng as they go into Stirling's. The Mercedes you can see directly ahead. There is the Mercedes ahead. Danny Juncadelli. He had that massive moment and magnificent save, but into clearways you've got so little time around Brands Hatch. All these circuits, they blend into one another, and even what we call the pit straight is a very, very shallow curve from the exit of clearways all the way up onto the top of Paddock Hill Bend.
Great to see the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit being used, particularly with the gradient change that makes it such a challenge around the circuit. Philippe Eng pushing very hard indeed in 6th place, but doesn't seem to have any answers to the questions by Daniel Juncadelli. Now, incident at turn 1 between car number 7 and 75 under investigation. 7 is the Bentley, that's presumably got the damage up the tail, and 75 is the Philippe Salicada Audi, one of the 2 from ISR. And when I say the Bentley, I mean the number 7 Bentley driven by Stephen Kane. And also on the opening
number
lap,
1 as the Audi and car 26, and maybe that explains that's the Santaloc Racing, Romain Monti and Christopher Hassel. So whether
Christopher Hassel went
involved in the same incident,
maybe one squeezed the other, but the outcome, of course, was that Christopher Hassel went for a spin loop, so he just clouted the curb on the inside, maybe because he was propelled in that direction. Here is the battle for Pro-Am honours. 87 Jules Gounon for ACA ASP in the Mercedes, with Rinaldi Racing chasing very hard indeed. Daniel Kalvitz, such a star in the 488 Ferraris, tucking in behind. They're running in 10th and 11th positions, just behind number 84, which is Franck Pereira. Hold on, Franck Pereira down in ninth position. This was the car that ran away with the opening race.
I've been waiting to
Misano.
say, where is the 84 car? It's down in 9th place. They didn't have the best of qualifications, which was a big surprise. They're running more or less where they started.
Well, we see in shot there the yellow nose of Robbie Frientz's Audi just behind the McLaren, and then behind him is Franck Pereira. He will be handing over to Maxi Buch. Bit of discord we thought we picked up on camera yesterday when Franck was chosen to do the final qualifying session, and Maxi Buch, who's been the star in the HTP camp, had to stay at the back of the garage.
I mean, maybe we over-egged the pudding on that one, but certainly the teams have to make a decision as to who is the best driver within the two-driver lineup to do the final qualifying session, assuming that you get through to do that. And the 84 HTP team decided they think that Franck Pereira has got maybe the edge on a single out-and-out flying lap time. So that was the decision. And we saw Max Buch in the pits. I'd call it looking fairly sanguine.
Sanguine, we'll go with sanguine.
I don't know whether that means he was happy or unhappy. He would have been happy if he'd been on pole position, because it doesn't really matter. He would have given his best, as would Franck Pereira.
So another shot of Jules Gounon. Pro-Am in 10th and 11th position, says the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari in 11th place. And behind him is Raffaele Marciello, another driver who we have sung the praises of Raffaele, but qualifying is so quick firing Blancpain, we almost didn't notice that some of the ones that got into that top 17 for the final 10-minute shootout didn't come away with the best of positions. But as we said, take away poleman and the next 15 cars were covered by half a second. So we are dealing in tenths. So now Rinaldi Racing going well in their Ferrari, just outside the top 10 in 11th position. Raffaele Marciello tucked in behind him, and after that is Frank Stippler. And then one of the McLarens, one of the three McLarens in the race, we lost one, is Lewis Williamson, the driver from the far north of Scotland, sharing this weekend with David Fuminelli, young Italian racer. As we pointed out, his regular co-driver Nick Leventis injured his knee last time around in the endurance round at Monza. Alvaro Parent now coming under pressure. Robin Frientz had a better last lap and has closed onto his tail as they go out onto Grand Prix loop.
Well, in case anybody was getting concerned about the pace of Mirko Bortolotti and the fact that he'd lost a bit of time about 3 laps ago, have no fear, because he's actually extended the advantage over the second place BMW. It's over 4 seconds. That may have just a momentary blip from the Lamborghini driver when he was slightly slower than the cars pursuing him, but back on pace, back on message, and recording quicker laps than at this point in the race anybody else. Christopher Mies might be the nearest to him. Yes, Christopher Mies actually just about matching, but unfortunately for Mies and the one Audi, that puncture has put the number 1 Audi right to the tail of the field.
Yeah, it didn't have the best of starts, lost second position away from the grid, fell to third, and then it all went horribly wrong with that puncture, forcing him to make the pit stop down into 29th of the 30 remaining runners in the opening of 2 races. This is the sprint race, the qualifying race for the Sprint Cup, and the main race, also of an hour, starts at 4:15 this afternoon. So Lamborghini leading the way by 4.6 seconds ahead of Jesse Krohn's BMW, then at 3 and a bit second gap back to Norbert Siedler in the second of the Grasser Racing Lamborghinis. And there was a good visual, 0-1 flashing on the windscreen. That's our race leader, the pole starter, Mirko Bortolotti. Nobody else in shot. You have to have a high shot to see Jesse Krohn's BMW coming over the top, but around the back part of the circuit through Hawthorne and then down to Westfield, sweeping and looking very well poised indeed around a fabulous stretch of the track.
I mean, what Mirko Bortolotti has found the rhythm. He's got the car working in the manner in which he wants. It's just looking absolutely, you wouldn't want it any better. You couldn't get it much better. So all he has to do is just focus, keep his concentration, pull every lap. He's pulling about 2 to 3/10 of a second a lap now on the second place BMW. So when he comes in to hand over to Christian Engelhard, that gives him that little bit of fudge room in the event that there's maybe a fumble on a wheel nut.
Well, just having a look through the replay box now, very, very close between the number 7 Bentley and Philippe Salicado right in front of him, going up to Druids, trying left, trying right, trying left again, and that's how close it is. That's how close it has to be if you're going to unsettle the driver ahead of you. Now
So
back
you've
on
got
track.
Mapelli, Jungadella and Philippe Eng running as a trio, running 4th through 6th place. They're able to get up to within less than half a second, and at that point just they can't make any further progress. Again, lots of drivers running very wide over the exit on the Graham Hill bend, then the run down into Surtees, variety of lines. You can see bits of, I think, bit of bodywork lying just offline from an earlier contact as Juncadella runs it wide in the exit of Surtees, and then just sitting with the BMW flat out down Hawthorne's 245 kilometers per hour, and then you launch it into Hawthorne's Bend.
Yeah, then come Parent, Robin Fritz in the number 17 Audi running in 8th place, and just behind Franck Pereira making no gain, and then interestingly the Franck has got Jules Gounod not being dropped, and Jules in the car behind, number 87, is in the Pro-Am class. So very, very strong run from former Formula 3000 star and historic racer Jean-Marc Gounod. Very impressed with Jules Gounod. He's really stretching his wings.
Just watching the tail of the 17 Audi coming out of Sheen Bend. Just a little bit of a movement indicating that the left rear may be beginning to feel some of the pressure we've got. But another 8 minutes or so before we get into the pit stop window being open. Meantime, race leader Mirko Bortolotti extending again up to 5.4 seconds at the end of the 13th lap.
Yeah, what we're seeing, John, is exactly that he can lap in the 1 minute 24s. His rivals all lapping in the 1 minute 25s, right the way through to almost 20th position. Just shows how incredibly tight it is on time. Chase is being led by Jesse Krohn, Finnish racer, but really not in the hunt in terms of overall position. Doesn't seem there's anything he can do. His Jesse's mugshot on the screen, sitting on a tight, comfortable advantage, about 3 seconds over Norbert Siedler, but we've just seen how good these Lamborghinis are on their tyres. Will Norbert be able to close in? I sort of get the sensation he might. Where is he in the background of the shot? You know, that's a visual on what 3 seconds looks like.
Yes, I think there's more likelihood of the number 19 Lamborghini closing up to the back of the second place BMW than there is of Jesse Cronin, the 98, to catch to the race leader. So
entirely so.
Norbert Siedler. And it's also, you know, some cars work their tyres differently. The Lamborghini in these cooler conditions might just be getting that little bit more from the tyre than the BMW is doing. That might indicate why we're seeing the gap at the front increase, and now the third place Lamborghini closing back up to the back of the BMW.
What we're picking up on here, John, is the 55 Phil Quaife Spirit of Race Ferrari. It's got the 85 Mercedes behind it. We wouldn't have expected that, but of course Fabian Schiller sharing that 85 car with Jules Simkoviak had to start on the final position on the grid. Now he's found himself caught behind, but they're fighting in Silver Cup. That is the battle for Silver Cup. Phil Quaife leading that class in 24th overall and Fabian Schiller behind, but Fabian wanted to be at the sharp end of the grid. We saw him racing right at the front end at Misano in the opening round, but right now all he can go for is the Silver Cup points, because he can get close, but he just can't get past. And Phil Quaife obviously knows Brands Hatch very well indeed.
Yes, and we're going further forward the field, looking down, seeing the number 5, which is currently Dries Van Thorp. What is Dries? How did they get down there? I mean, was their qualifying so bad?
Well, it was. They were outside the top half of the field because it was so quick fire. You get the top 17 going through for the final shootout, and Dries was just outside. Yet early in the weekend, Dries was setting the fastest times in free practice sessions, but it just hasn't looked like an Audi circuit. Christopher Haase, we just saw him at the back of the shot. He should have been probably their best placed driver. There's Gounod, son of Jean-Marc, leading the way in Pro-Am, but of course, Christopher Haase was fighting at the front end. Contact possibly with another Audi that could be at the front end. That picked up a puncture. He spun down to the tail of the field. So even their better placed runners on the grid have ended up nowhere.
So there's the battle for Pro-Am, with the Mercedes leading the 2 Ferraris. The gap between the first and second in that category is just 3/4 of a second, a bigger gap down to the remaining Pro-Am runners. But the pace of the Ferrari and the pace of the Mercedes, currently they're lapping within, well, tenths of seconds, not even, hundredths of seconds of one another.
I just need to pick up on a slight slip up there. I said Phil Quaife was leading the Silver Cup. Yes, he's very close with Fabian Schiller, but some way up the order. In 14th place is Lewis Williamson, sharing with David Fuminelli. 14th place overall. They are leading the Silver Cup. Sorry, my slip on the screen. Right, getting closer and closer in this battle from 4th through to 6th place. Philippe Eng is at the back of it. They've got the Thai Ferrari up ahead of them, the TP12 entry, run by Kessel Racing. Carlo Van Dam at the wheel of that. That has dropped down the order big time because that had a puncture on at the opening lap, but that's the car that this little group trio of Marco Mappelli in the blue Lamborghini, number 66, right behind Daniel Juncadella, and then Philippe Eng coming across. It's a fantastic livery, but right now this trio of drivers won't be interested in the livery. They'll be interested in where they can pass that Ferrari.
Well, the other thing the teams are going to be considering is they're within just 2.5 minutes of the pit lane being open, so how many of them will opt to come in at the earliest opportunity, or how many, for example, the lead Lamborghini, will it choose to continue? It's only got a 5.3 second advantage. they would like to stretch it more, they possibly can.
Absolutely they would. So 2 and a bit minutes till the pit window opens. 4th through to 6th, covered by very, very little indeed. Again, top right of your screen, you'll see the view through the windscreen that Philipp Eng is enjoying. What he won't be enjoying is the fact he's lost a tiny bit of ground. He was closer a lap ago to the tail of the red Mercedes of Daniel Juncadella, the number 88 that just ran wide at the bottom of Paddock Hill Bend. But now you can see they've got the traffic right up ahead and they'll catch that Ferrari around the course of this lap. Who will it affect the most? Will it affect anyone? But you certainly feel that one of these trio may gain a little bit as they get past the Ferrari.
Well, there's inevitably will happen with any one of these 3 cars. If you see some of the BMW drivers preparing, there may be an early pit stop for the 99 or the 98 BMW, others all set to go. So the pit window will open just under a minute and a half, and there are drivers prepared to make that very early switch over.
Yeah, the driver we just saw in the pit lane, in the pit garage with a largely yellow helmet is Christian Engelhardt. He'll be looking to take over from Mirko Bortolotti, who's sitting on a 5.8 second advantage. Also, the Grasser Lamborghini team at the second last garage before pit exit. That's possibly a slightly better place to be than some of the ones on the curving bit of the pit lane in the middle of the lane. But right now what we're seeing is Juncadella has fallen back onto the nose of Philipp Eng, and a little bit of breathing space for Marco Mappelli for the first time. But then the group of cars behind, led by Alvaro Perez's McLaren, Robin Fritz's Audi and Franck Pereira's Mercedes, getting closer and closer to the back of this little grouping. But Marco Mappelli up from 7th at the start of the race, up into 4th place, working very well. Now, as you can see, finally he's got a bit of a gap between himself and that red Mercedes behind. When I say a bit of a gap, I mean under a second, but it's been far less than that for quite some while. So again, maybe the Lamborghinis sweet on their tyres right the way through their range.
I mean, I think really the key for the Lamborghinis in particular is that they've been able to turn the tyre on. Maybe that little bit more effective than Bentley, big shunt for the 7 Bentley, or is that a tyre blowout as a consequence, or is it a spin? I'm getting very excited.
It was already tattered.
Yes, I wonder is he maybe the left rear tyre, has it finally been cut down? It looks like it has been. It is. So as the consequence of the bodywork flapping around, is that a sort of a self-induced incident, or did he spin and then that was a sort of the outcome?
You know, John, the pit window is now open. I bet the team was hoping that it could have been 30 seconds earlier and he could have arrived into the pit. Let's have a look at the replay.
The tyre's
gone down.
The tyre had gone before he was fully through the corner.
So Stephen Kane coming down the hill would have felt it go, did very well to actually get it and not in the gravel and get it off the circuit.
And what we were seeing was a little bit of waste fuel in the exhaust pipe just igniting. It wasn't anything more than that. So pit window is now open, and we're still waiting to see if anybody's prepared to come in at the top 3. There's nobody in this, certainly not at the end of lap 18.
No, they keep going. Tyres, fresh batches of Pirellis.
There we go.
Prepared up and down the pit. So this is the car that was coming in from 6th place. Philipp Eng, the first of the pitters. Franck Pereira has brought his Mercedes in. He has to go the whole way down towards pit exit. The HTP Motorsport crew, and limping back with less and less rubber is poor old Stephen Kane. Very unfortunate. That tyre eventually gave go. The body had been rubbing on it for some while. Chance to see the row racing crew get it all together. Philipp Eng trying to keep out of the way, being chased by the mechanic.
It's difficult because on a left-hand drive car, the teams tend to want to change the left-hand side wheels first. So you've got the driver change going on, and sometimes that in itself can be a little bit untidy. There's the 84. That looks like a pretty good stop to me from the HTP team. That's what they're going to give them track position, and they're ahead of the BMW.
Ahead of the BMW. So bear in mind the BMW was 6th, and before the pit stops, the Mercedes was 9th.
And Key also, I think, the number 1 Audi was just coming up, which had already been in at the end of the first lap. There's Stephen Kane limping back to the pits to get the Bentley, not only a driver change, but all 4 wheels and tyres.
What a shame for them that the pit stop window couldn't have opened a minute earlier. Then they could have brought that in, because clearly the bodywork had been rubbing for some while on the rear wheel of that Bentley, and it just let go as he entered Paddock Hill Bend last time around. As you can see, the bodywork was already tattered. It's far more tattered now. There's not a scintilla of rubber around there anymore. It's just wheel rim.
I mean, that's a pretty severe bit of bodywork damage. And so still the lead driver now with a 6-second advantage over the 2nd place BMW, the 3rd place Lamborghini, just 4 seconds behind that 2nd place BMW, and the pit stops beginning to happen but not that flurry that we sometimes see.
Great lump of rubber or something in the circuit just before the Pirelli bridge between Stirling's and Clearways.
It could be the remnants, the last vestige of what Stephen Kane was carrying around. But there we see the 42 McLaren. So the team going to work again.
That was leading the way in the Silver Cup class.
Yeah,
Lewis Williamson handing over to David Fuminelli. We'll have a lot of changing around. We still have another 7 minutes in which the teams can come in and make their pit stops. A lot of the crews have to decide not just when they want to come in for the sake of it, but they have to decide whether the cars they're battling with are going to be parked alongside them in the pit lane. 63 still on the way. Let's look for
there's a load of rubber all over the racetrack on the exit from Stirling's.
There's the big piece.
A big lump of rubber. So Bortolotti stays out. He does.
He's going to do the maximum stint length, I feel. He's not under pressure at the moment. He's just trying to keep that advantage and extend it if he can. It's 6.1 seconds last time around. We'll find out in about 6 seconds how much it is over Jesse Crone. Jesse crosses the start-finish line now. It's gone down to 6.002. You're talking a tenth of a second.
Late cut into the pit lane for the McLaren. What the lead teams, the Lamborghini and the BMW, have to be aware of is when they choose to make the pit stop. Those that have done it earlier, are they going to be that little bit quicker at this phase of the race? Is that going to be a negative fault, or will they just be able to maintain the balance of the advantage that they have? 6 seconds between first and second, but 10 seconds between first and third.
Yeah, it always amuses me when you see a driver being wrenched out of these McLarens. And that was Alvaro Parente, who was like a spring, was fired out. Ben Barnicoat, the taller driver, pulled him out of the way, jumped in, and then immediately Alvaro turned around and started getting him comfortable in the seat, strapping in. This is the number 8 Bentley that was running second of the Bentleys. Maxime Soulet brought it in, handing over to Andy Soucek, but to get to the top 10 at this point in the race.
He's getting wrapped up in the
air hose there.
The air hose, indeed.
So perilous times in the pits for several drivers, but looks like a nice tidy pit stop. Alvaro Parente handing over to Ben Barnicoat, the 58 McLaren. Mirko Bortolotti started on pole, has not been headed in this race, sitting on an advantage of 6 seconds. Will he come in this time around?
He is.
Yes, he is. There we are, beautifully caught there. Into the pit lane he comes. And now Will Philip, Jesse Crone has not pitted. He's gone on pass. So Jesse Crone now leads this race for BMW, the 98 BMW in the lead. There's Christian Engelhardt standing in pit position, waiting for Mirko Bortolotti to get out of the car. Let's see how dignified this exit is. He's got a fair bit of a cage to get out and around and through. Does that very tidily, and the taller Engelhardt hops on board now.
And what the Grasso Racing team are doing the right-hand side first of all to allow the driver change to continue unimpeded, and that's the detail.
Sense.
That's the detail. Rather than tripping over drivers falling out of cars, try and do the right-hand side first.
Yeah, and of course, for them, the garage is on the opposite side of the car at Misano in the opening round. The car's a bit lighter now, having left the majority of its Pirelli fresh rubber on the circuit. So Christian Engelhardt coming back out just behind Jules Simkoviak, Fabian Schiller, the 85 HSP Motorsport car that had to start at the back of the order.
That looked to me to be a pretty good stop from Grasso Racing, and by the time all this filters through, we should expect to see that 63 car still in the lead as we look into the BMW garage.
Okay, I just want to throw something in the mix as Row Racing are thinking, right, this time around we must get Jesse Crone in. How good was that pit stop from the 84 Mercedes crew? Because that was the car that won the opening round. Is this coming in this time around, number 99? No, number 98 going on round one more time. He's still got next time around. You sort of feel might be the time he comes in, by which stage the pit lane should be very empty indeed. But I just want to pick up on number 84. Maxi Bouk has taken that over. He's listed as 12th at the moment. Half a dozen cars ahead of him have to make a pit stop. And don't forget, before the pit stops, he was in 9th. It was a very quick pit stop.
It was a very good pit stop from the H2P team. But the thing that I'm looking at is Max Bouk's initial lap, first flying lap, not particularly special, 25.4. So we wait to see what's happening. It matches the last lap of the lead car, the BMW. They're doing the same time, but of course, first flying lap out will never be quite as quick as once you get into the rhythm. There is the car we believe will ultimately reclaim the lead, Christian Engelhardt and the Grasso Racing Lamborghini, but it's still the 98 BMW with just under 2 minutes remaining before the pit lane window will close.
Well, a much more dignified exit by Ezequiel Perez Companc. Of course, this is the 19 Lamborghini that really was in the wars at Monza. So that started the race in 4th position and was running 3rd, with the number 1 Audi having picked up that puncture and dropped down the order. In fact, it's down still in 29th position. overall. Two cars being
coming in this time.
Okay, coming in this time. 66 and 55 must respect track limits at turn 7. So we'll keep an eye on that. Race control have already kept an eye on that. So in comes the car from a temporary lead of the race. The car that was running second before Mirko Bortolotti brought the 63 Lamborghini in from the lead of the race. But let's hope it's a tidy pit stop. Jesse Krohn will be handing over to fellow Finn Marcus Paltela. There is Marcus pulling up alongside. This looks a far easier car to get out of than the McLaren. That's
oh
sure.
yes, I mean, it's a normal GT car, whereas the mid-engine cars are a lot more difficult. They've got a very high sill. But again, the same issue of doing the left side when the driver change is taking place.
So 63 clouting the curb at Sheen Curve, but 8th place at the moment, according to the number on the screen. Sorry, 6th place, I can't read. But down on the ground is
Good
the car
start,
that was chasing it. Looked tidy.
Because the Lamborghini is only coming into clearways now, it's going to be a close call. Can the BMW, just near the end of the pit, there it is, it's making its way down the pit lane. In fact, it's going to be almost side by side as they come up into Paddock Hill Bend. The BMW, no, the Lamborghini just sneaks through, but the gap has been reduced. BMW seem to have done maybe marginally the quicker pit stop.
Yeah, I'd say they gained about 3 seconds in that pit stop. Didn't put them into the lead of the race, but certainly put the frighteners on, the GRT Grasser racing team. So almost all of the front runners, the top 3 have not pitted as yet. Robin Frientz, is he in the pits just having a look? He'll be coming in very soon indeed, or if not, he will be in trouble. Daniel Kylvitz leading the Pro-Am class now has yet to pit, and number 11, which is Giacomo Piccini, will be handing over his Pro-Am class Kessel Racing Ferrari as well very soon indeed to Michel Broniczewski. So once those are done, we should have back in the lead of the race, number 63 Lamborghini, now with Christian Engelhardt at the wheel and then Marcus Paltela giving chase, but much closer. Here is Robin Frientz. I said he had to come in this time around, so he's come out of a very late lead of the race, but of course that will turn to him being down in, well, 6th, anywhere between 6th and 10th position, according to how good the pit stops are.
And Stuart Leonard will take over behind the wheel of that car. So Audi get the WRT. You know, this is where Audi and WRT have been so effective in races in the past. They've used the pit stop to make up lots of places. As we see, the Ferrari go to work as well, the 333. And then, of course, it's been in a battle with the Mercedes all the way through. In fact, in that class with Jules Gougnot. So the last of the cars that have yet to make a pit stop, it's 5 seconds remaining. Pit stop window is closed. If you're in, that's fine, but if you miss it, you're going to be in big trouble.
Yeah, so the 3 that were remaining in the first 3 positions, and unsurprisingly...
What's this? We've got a mechanic getting out of the passenger seat.
Oh, he didn't understand the term. He thought they still had riding mechanics, John.
But I think there was an issue.
Yeah.
You have a lot of resets on board the car, and sometimes the pressure is overwhelming and you don't quite get all the resets, or maybe some of the things that connected the radio and the other items that are in the cockpit of these cars.
Well, I'm glad they noticed before they got to Druids with the mechanics still on board. But joking aside, looks like Robin Frientz handing over to Stuart Leonard has gained position and was tussling with the McLaren, but the McLaren was ahead as far as I recall before the pit stops, but very, very close between the two of them and already looking very feisty, trying to dive up the inside into Surtees, not quite pulling it off. Ben Barnicoat back in 8th place, and now Stuart Leonard in 7th in the yellow-nosed Audi. Down Pilgrim's Drop under the Blancpain Bridge into the bottom of Hawthorne Hill, up to Hawthorne, but leading the way at the front of the race is still the 63 Lamborghini, now in the hands of Christian Engelhardt, the sister car, number 19.
Keep an eye on the McLaren, running behind the 17 Audi. That looked to be slightly quicker down the straight, and Ben Barnicoat looked to be making a little bit of position, but here is the lead car. On the hands of Christian Engelhardt.
I just possibly confused people in saying that the number 19 Lamborghini, there's the leader going through into Paddock Hill Bend. He's really stretched it out. It was about 3 seconds. This has been really strong from Christian Engelhardt. 2nd place, Marcus Paltela. Then, ignore this one, 3rd place is the 2nd of the Grasser Lamborghinis. There's 03 on the windscreen. That is Ezekiel Perez Compact, took over from Norbert Siedler. And then up into 4th place will be the 88 Felix Sarayes driven ACA ASP Mercedes. And then Baxi Book, I said watch for the progress of 84. There is 84 with a red stripe up over the top. And the 2nd BMW. Oh, is it going to be a place change? No, it isn't. But Ben Barnicoat is really making Stuart Leonard work very hard.
He needs to be careful. The Mercedes looking to slide through the number 90. Just coming up the inside with Michael Meadows behind the wheel. This is Michael Meadows we're riding with. Ben Barnicoat on the lap prior going out of Surtees, got a better run on the 17 Audi. Had a thought about it, but he wasn't close enough. But clearly the pace of the McLaren right now, strong.
Now, just worth pointing out in the qualifying race, points for the top 6 runners. So Michael Meadows at the moment, we've just been riding with him. This grouping here, just outside the points, 7th, 8th and 9th. Audi, McLaren, Mercedes. But for Michael Meadows in the number 90, he will be desperate to get up in the points. But right now, the maximum haul of points for this, which is 8 points, it goes 8, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1 for the top 6 finishers. 8 will go to the 63 Lamborghini crew if Christian Engelhardt can not only continue the work done by Mirko Bortolotti, but continue what he's doing in terms of very quick lap times. 1 minute 24.3 last time around. The chasing Marcus Paltela about to finish his next lap 1.4 seconds slower, so no wonder the gap went out. They were close when they left the pits. 3 seconds we reckon between them. Now it's really going out. 6.9 seconds between first and second.
Yeah, I mean, at that last lap there was 1.3 seconds advantage to the lead Lamborghini. Marcus Paltela seems to have lost that momentum, and because he's now got in third place the 19 Lamborghini. That's now been driven by Ezequiel Perez Compact, but that's 8.1 seconds, so not really a big threat to the second place Audi at this phase. 21 minutes to go.
So before the pit stops, Mercedes not really in the mix. Now after the pit stops, they're coming into the battle. We've still got 2 BMWs in the top 6, in second and in 6th places. And 6th place is Antonio Felix da Costa, came on board this weekend. Tom Blomqvist drove that car in the opening round alongside Philippe Eng, but this weekend it's Antonio Felix da Costa. And for those who've had their runs, they can chill out a little bit. That was Alvaro Paredes, handed over to Ben Barnicoat, and Ben is lapping very well indeed in 8th place in number 58, but he's getting frustrated, just can't get past Stuart Leonard. Don't worry, that's not an overtaking position by the BMW. That was one of the ACA ASB cars, Christophe Bourret in 89, who's a lap down. But again, how you pick your way through traffic, John, could be absolutely critical in terms of gaining a position or indeed
Stuart Leonard being pressed by Ben Barnicoat, and in turn he's being pressed by the Mercedes behind Michael Meadows. We've seen the onboard shot from Meadows looking forward to the back of the McLaren, who's looking forward to the back of the Audi. And the big winner out of all that, we think, actually was the 84 Mercedes of Maximilian Buch.
And the big loser in the pit stops was the blue Lamborghini, just saw coming to short. It was 4th before the pit stops with Marco Mappelli, but now the 66 with Giovanni Venturini is down in 10th, so something clearly went wrong in the pits.
Either in the pits or Venturini maybe just on that opening lap didn't, but certainly you have to think time lost in the pit lane is the most obvious place.
Yeah, because Johnny's lapping at very much the same pace as the handful of cars ahead of him. But number 63 in the hands of Christian Engelhardt, able to lap in the 1 minute 24s at will. The rest of the rivals in the 1 minute 25s. Just wanted to pick up on Christopher Mies, had that second pit stop, handed over to Enzo Ida, and that car got missing.
In the gravel.
Well, that's another car nearly missing. 26, that's the second incident at the same corner. Had it on the opening lap in the hands of Christopher Haase, and now Romain Monti has experienced far more of the gravel.
Amazingly, he's able to drive out of it. So, big spin, probably just lost the back of the car. Let's have a look and see. Oh, there's, maybe is this...
Did he get too close to the Kessel Racing Ferrari in front of him? No, looks so it's all his own work.
Oh, there's contact, that's why. Wow, just driven into the back of the 26 Audi.
Well, that was Gustavo Yacaman in the orange Lamborghini, Orange One Team Lazarus Lamborghini, that gave more than a helping hand to number 26. So for Romain Monti, that was a bit of an eye-opener.
And that was an avoidable contact.
So it seems Antonio Felix da Costa, 6th place at the moment. Doesn't seem to have the answers to Maxi Buch, but the gap between first and second, just want to pick that up. Joel well pointed out, it was last time we looked about 6.9 seconds, it's now 9.1 seconds. So
Marcus Paltela is just unable to maintain the pace of that car, the 63 ahead of him, but more importantly, the cars that are pursuing. The gap is 7.8 seconds between second and third, 18 minutes remaining. At the way that BMW is not keeping contact with the lead car, it is entirely possible that come the end of the race, that he might be under threat.
Okay. Slowly, perhaps catchy monkey, but Maxi Buch is up to 5th place now. We've seen him, he's just behind another Mercedes, but that's Felix Sarayes, but he's setting that car's quickest laps now.
Yes.
Starting to pick up make the progress, pick up the pace. Catching is one thing at Brands Hatch, passing is quite another, but just look out for the 84.
Well, he's only 1.2 seconds behind the 88 Mercedes-Benz, so that's something he will focus on. But of course, the cars are identical in every sense, so it'll be a much more difficult opportunity to find a way past. So Felix Sarayes will be behind the wheel. He's not going to step aside to let the 84 car go through.
Well, Fabrizio Crestani is the driver of the wheel at that number. 26 is being pushed away after that moment in the gravel, and the car that pushed him there, drive-through penalty, and it's not Gustavo Yacaman. He just handed over to Fabrizio Crestani. So for the Orange One Team Lazarus, Lamborghini, well, that is any chance of any points. Well, they were down in 24th position, going west. Look how close it is in the middle of the order. Oh,
contact!
That's Christophe Boré, contact with the Bentley.
That was up. You could see that was something about to happen. There was 4 cars all moving around. The 89 Mercedes-Benz was the one that was in effect.
And look, a car with it sideways across the track. Someone went to the left and ran out of space.
Which Audi is that? The number 1
the
Audi?
red one is the number 1 Audi. I think that black up the top of that. I think that could be the number 3 Audi off at turn 1. But suddenly found that 89 sitting there. Are we going to have a safety car?
Oh yes,
you have to presume it. Definitely a safety car. The waved yellow
the
flags.
number 5 Audi. So that was the car that had to take the long way around. Marcel Fassler behind the wheel. Yeah,
his first ever race at Brands Hatch. Amazing for a driver of his caliber who's been around the world for so long in racing.
We'll get a repeat of what happened. There was 4 cars. The Bentley went to the inside. I don't know which car it was that made contact with the 89 Mercedes, but a very quick part of the racetrack, and a horrible feeling to be sitting there watching the cars bear down on you. The number 5 Audi had to take the
high road.
Well, the high road or the dirt track road. So let's have a look back and see what was going on.
Well, when we saw the incident starting to shape up, something was brewing, John. We both wanted to talk because there it was.
As soon as I saw those 4 cars, let's watch and see. There's the Mercedes. You got the Audi behind. Look, watch the Bentley.
By 1.
It's the Bentley making the move up, and then the contact comes, and it's just as if the 2 of them get locked together, and all of a sudden the Mercedes is banging across the track into the barriers, then back over the racetrack and comes to a standstill.
It was almost magnetic. The ISR Audi went past.
Almost in a way, the Bentley found itself in a position where it had nowhere to go.
Yeah, almost got sucked in, and that was.
Except put your brakes on.
Yeah.
Well, the Mercedes may have
Do you think he panicked a bit because he was a lap down?
What I'm trying to get there. You see, look at the number 5 Audi, absolutely committed and didn't slow down at all. Lucky to get away with that.
That was a great bit of driving. You can't get much closer to the entire barrier. It's got a bit of bodywork damage at the back.
He's torn off the rear part of the bodywork. But I just wonder, did the Mercedes maybe lift off momentarily, which is what could have caught out the Bentley. The Bentley was in a position where it had nowhere to go. And it was as if they were just interlocked. And then eventually they separated and the Mercedes hit the barrier on the right-hand side, then across in front of the number 5 Audi, which fortunately was able to take not the scenic route, but the cross-country route.
Yeah, well, it was a glancing blow for the Mercedes down the barriers. That lump of rubber, we just saw a marshal, before we had that replay, run out onto that bit of the circuit where the cars are passing now and remove it. So that's one hazard they won't have when the safety car withdraws. Drive-through penalty, as we pointed out, still due for the number 27. Orange 1, Team Lazarus Lamborghini, but leading the way by what was a tidy margin, and it kept on increasing. Christian Engelhardt, the 63 Lamborghini. The 98 BMW is chasing. So this isn't a full course yellow. This is the racing. Now, looking down at this group, we saw the Audi coming past, and we knew it was a back martyr, and the Mercedes just did he slow or you can't tell it. I think he thought I'd been passed and didn't expect the move up the inside.
He may have been aware of the traffic around. He may have rolled out of the throttle to stay out of the battle that was going on behind him. But the consequence was the Audi went to the left, the Bentley had gone to the right, and there was no room on the right-hand side of the track. So the Mercedes, the Bentley momentarily interlocked. Then they disconnected and the Mercedes went into the barrier and the Bentley continued. Then the number 5 Audi came screaming down the pit lane and suddenly found the racetrack. A Mercedes across it. So there is the number 8 Bentley, still under this safety car procedure. And we've now got just over 13 minutes of the race remaining, and everybody now catching their breath. Always a difficult part of the racetrack coming up into Paddock Bend, and you get 4 cars all very close together, and maybe, we don't know, it did look initially like that the 89 Mercedes might have just rolled out of the throttle momentarily earlier. But bad news for Lamborghini and Christian Engelhardt. All that good work that he has done, he's now got the 98 BMW closer than it has ever been at any time other than at the point where the lights went out.
Entirely so, and Christophe Boré's, he's not in that BMW. He's the driver of the car that clattered the barriers on the approach to Paddock Hill Bend, and of course such a difficult position because the corner's blind enough on approach anyhow, and then as you're coming through, as the number 5 Audi was, you don't know what you're going to find scattered across the track. He had to take that evasive action, but as you pointed out, 63, it's a lead down to just 2 car lengths. They run behind the safety car. I think we might yet have the lights go out this time around, but I can't quite see from our commentary position the clear-up operation. We've seen the 89 Mercedes has been pulled away, but Marcus Paltler, who lost nearly 10 seconds when he came out, we reckon about 3 seconds behind. He lost half a dozen seconds in clear racing. Now the safety car has given the BMW racer another chance, but he's got another Lamborghini right on his tail. But Ezekiel Perez Companc is not Christian Engelhardt. He's getting better with each year, but as long as Paltler can get a good restart when the safety car will peel off, but the restart will be dictated by Christian Engelhardt.
Yes,
he's at the front of the field. That's how it is.
He's got the advantage.
Safety car in the end of this lap. That's
so he will use that as best he can, and by the time he comes down to clearways, the safety car will then enter the pit lane, and he's more or less in control and free to go. And it's up to Marcus Paltler to stick to the back of the Lamborghini as best he can. But it's always a reaction to what the lead car is doing.
Worth pointing out just one more time, we've got 2 races today. The main race, another 1 hour race, starts at 4:15 this afternoon local time, but points for the top 6 finishers in this race. 8 points for the race winner. Will it be the 63 Lamborghini that gets it? They know the safety car has come over the crest of the hill ahead of them. Its lights were out. They know this race will be rejoined with 11 minutes remaining. Lamborghini leading the way, BMW second, Lamborghini third, and already Christian Engelhardt has dropped it as they went under the Pirelli Bridge, sweeping down into the stadium section through clearways, through Clark Curve, onto the start-finish straight, and he's already got a lead of about 1.5 seconds by the time they get to the start line. Let's just show 0.8 of a second. My eyes are clearly going completely bonkers. Any changes behind?
Having a look.
That was the chance. This is the move to try and get into 6th place to take the final point, but the McLaren driver couldn't quite pull it off on the approach to Paddock Hill Bend. Everyone else behaving very well indeed behind. So number 8 Bentley might be gaining a position. Of course, that was the one that was involved in the incident down into Paddock Hill Bend. Oh, 84 has come into, that is 84, isn't it? It's come into the pit lane, and that was in 4th position before. So another puncture in this race. It affected the number 1 car early in the race, and now the 84, just as it had worked its way up towards the tail end, it was in those points.
Well, every time you see contact between cars, mostly the carbon fibre parts just go into tiny little shards. They lie on the racetrack. If you're unfortunate enough to run across them, they will cut a car. But I tell you what, Ben Barnicott absolutely determined to find a way past the number 17 Audi, Stuart Leonard behind the wheel, and a good run in this part of the qualifying race for the young McLaren driver.
And when they had the little tussle, the duo, it wasn't for a point, it now is. Leonard in the final points paying position, but certainly getting very tight in battle for 3rd place now.
Yes, it is. So there's back through the field for the battle for what is effectively 6th place, but it's the battle for 2nd place, or sorry, for 3rd place. That's going to be the focus, because it looks like big challenge is coming. The Lamborghini 19 Sarayas is going to look to find something in the goal. She got the second of the BMWs. Antonio Felix da Costa in his first race in the BMW. First race, I think, in the Grand Prix circuit at Brands Hatch.
Yeah, that surprised me when he said that before the start of the race. But so for Ezekiel Perez Companc running 3rd in the 19 Lamborghini, he doesn't have the experience of the people around him. Yes, Felix Sarayas, who's giving chase, being caught beautifully through the windscreen of Antonio Felix da Costa's BMW. But Felix Sarayas, very impressive. He's come across after many years in single-seaters. He certainly impressed the two of us when watching him down in the opening Sprint Cup race at Misano. Now he's got a real chance, and you can feel how he senses that he might get past that 19 Lamborghini.
The Bentley limping, the number 8 Bentley looked a little bit slow out of surgery, so it was very wide. I wasn't sure that was a problem or whether just simply he was wide in the corner. Again, this battle for 6th place between the Audi and the McLaren, and because they're worried about what's ganging up behind, and they're really trying to think, well, if I can get through, can I get onto the tail of the second of the BMWs?
Yeah, and see Michael Meadows in the background of that shot trying to make ground as well, so that he's the next car in line in number 90, the red Mercedes, right on the tail of flash those headlights, Ben Barnicott. See, do everything you can to try and upset Stuart Leonard, but Leonard, plenty of experience, and he's not falling for those sort of japes. He's holding the final point scoring position. 2 ISR Audis in the mix in the background of the shot there. in 10th and 11th positions, but right now it's really all eyes on 19. Can he be hunted down by the 88 Mercedes? 19 running in 3rd place overall. The gap between 1st and 2nd has gone out as we expected. Christian Engelhardt pulling clear again from Marcus Paltner, the Lamborghini away from the BMW. 2.4 seconds is the gap between 1st and 2nd now. Stuart Leonard still holding on to 6th place, but still being chased by the orange McLaren with the green roof. Ben Barnicoat and behind Michael Meadows seeing what he can do, and then Giovanni Venturini and Kevin Chekon completing the top 10 runners. And out to see a couple of cars from Team WRT outside the top 10 is really quite a rarity, but maybe it's a sign of a changing time in the Blancpain GT Series.
At one point I thought the Mercedes in 4th place might get a better run onto the 3rd place. Ezequiel Perez compact Lamborghini, he can get close, but as has been the case pretty much throughout this entire race, you can get close, but now actually through Dingledale up into Sheen Curve, he's the closest he has been. He's certainly quicker through that segment of the racetrack. Try and look possibly down the inside, but there's always an impossibility to get up alongside somebody into Sterling's. The Mercedes clearly the quicker of these two cars in that 3rd place battle.
Yeah, certainly, John. Through
wave, yellow flag.
No, we've got a car in the gravel at Clearways. Just need to pick it up. So well picked up on the flags there, John. Can't tell you who. No, it's car number 11 has spun into the gravel at 9. That's the Kessel Racing Ferrari. Giacomo Puccini handed it over to Michel Bronicheski. So last year's Pro-Am champion. Big surprise. When is this move going to come from Barnicoat? He's putting so much pressure in the McLaren on the number 17 Audi ahead of him. But Stuart Leonard has the answer, so they go down into Paddock Hill Bend. So unfortunate late race incident there, but it does hamper any driver trying to make a move. Not that the move comes at Clearways into Clark Curve where the car is in the gravel, that number 11 Kessel Racing Ferrari, but it still slightly hampers those who are giving chase, trying to make a move. Most notably Felix Sarayas, who is running as the field seems to really be bunching up in that run from 3rd place. Ezequiel Perez compact back down through the order. Just at this late stage in the race, I want to point out the Kessel Racing Ferrari is leading Pro-Am in 16th place overall, so the great work done by Jules Gounon has not been built on by his teammate, unfortunately. Handed over to Jean-Luc Bobelic. That's still 2nd in the class, but several positions behind now, so advantage in Pro-Am to Kessel Racing. But just the tail end of the top 10 is nose-to-tail stuff.
Yeah, the gap between 1st and 2nd are comfortable at this point. With just over 5 minutes remaining, 2 seconds. Marcus Paltner sort of kind of checked the advantage the lead Lamborghini was having, and then the gap between 2nd and 3rd, well, it's just under 2 seconds, and then 3rd to 4th, 3/10. You can see how close.
Certainly is, and there's a message on screen telling us the Clearways into Clark Curve will be waved yellow flags until the remainder of the race as Barnicoat takes. He got almost close enough to make the move stick into Paddock Hill Bend. Stuart Leonard very, very loose through the corner as a consequence of trying to resist that attack. And behind him, Michael Meadows is going, go on, help each other off. I need to get up to that final point scoring position in the number 90 Mercedes.
Well, that's what Michael Meadows is going to be hoping for. He can see the heat of this battle between the Audi and the McLaren may well be something that could give him the advantage with under 5 minutes to go. McLaren again, clearly the quicker of the two cars, but just finding the way through is going to be the difficulty. Close coming now out of Surtees. McLaren appears to have reasonably good straight line speed. Can he close? Can he get up alongside? But he's too far back.
Very, very frustrating indeed for Ben Barnicoat. He has tried at pretty much every single corner around the lap of the circuit. Don't forget, wave yellow flags as Clearways turns into Clark Curve, the combined final corner of the lap. Watching on, seeing if his driver can advance is Baz Linders, who runs all the McLarens under the Straka Racing over flag, if you will, but 58 is running out of time. 4 minutes remaining until the end of this 1 hour race. The main race, also 1 hour in duration, starts at 4:15 this afternoon. But of course, it's all about picking up points where you possibly can, and that McLaren number 58 is not set for points unless it can pass the number 17 Audi ahead of it, almost alongside as they go over the start-finish line, trying the outside line. It won't manage to do it that way. Can he duck up the inside of the Audi? The Audi goes a little bit wide, up comes the nose of the McLaren. Is it up the inside, side by side? Is the move going to work for Ben Barnicoat? You have to say that was a fantastic manoeuvre. Can he break it enough for Druids? Well done for the young Brit, and certainly Baz Linders enjoyed the double thumb raise from Baz. He worked on that for lap after lap. He was making Stuart Leonard get more and more ragged in his defence, and Michael Meadows now tucked onto Leonard's tail, but the McLaren driver has got up into the top 6. And on a weekend where they lost one of the cars with a big shunt yesterday on the exit of Stirling's, possibly the toughest corner on the circuit, certainly the one that bites you the hardest for poor Loris Hasemans, led to that car being away and already being worked on in preparation of the next Endurance Cup round, which is coming very soon indeed at Silverstone. Car 42, trying to see what he can do, one of the sister McLarens, but that's a little further down the order. That's in 14th place overall with David Fuminelli at the wheel. But that is the car that's heading for victory in the Silver Cup at the moment, the first of the 2 Blancpain GT Sprint Cup races here at Brands Hatch. The Grand Prix circuit always puts on a fantastic picture. Now, if you pick up a stop-and-go penalty, that has been awarded to number 8 for presumably its contact with the 89 Mercedes that we saw go clattering down the barriers. But that stop-and-go penalty is too close to the end of the race, so it's being converted to a 40-second time penalty added after the race, and that will put number 8 at the moment with Andy Soucek at the wheel running 15th. That will put it way down out of the top 20. So it's not been the dream weekend so far for the Bentley crews, because the sister car with Vincent Abril is down in 21st position. That was the one that had the rear puncture that took out the bodywork. And then a big moment at Paddock Hill Bend, saved very well indeed by Stephen Kane, but all chance of anything out the window for the Bentley crews so far this weekend. But out front, leading the race, 2.967 seconds is the gap between first and second. That's comfortable enough for Christian Engelhardt, but then there's a gap of 1.5 seconds back to third place, and it's still the Lamborghini number 19 that is holding on. Outside the point scoring positions, the Audis are scrapping among themselves, the WRT entries and the ISRs having a real go around the Grand Prix circuit, watched by number 42 McLaren. That's David Fuminelli getting tucked in that battle as well, and he's got right behind him, he's got Andy Soucek. But that number 8 Bentley, of course, has a 40-second penalty to be added to its time after the race, and he's almost pushing the McLaren through Sheen Curve, and then another McLaren tucked in behind as well. That's Andrew Watson. Rob Bell started that, and that's not really been in the hunt either, but you start outside the top half of the grid, and it's very, very big arse indeed. Now, final lap has been started with just a minute on the clock, and leading onto it by 3.3 seconds is Christian Engelhardt leading the way from Marcus Paltela, and still making it a 1-3 for Grasso Lamborghini is the number 19, but it's got action behind it. Felix Arias has got to make a move, not close enough as he comes down Graham Hill Bend this time around. Mirko Bortolotti did the hard work early on, and certainly Christian Engelhardt is doing very well, but Mirko won't put a proper smile on his face until his car, the number 63 Lamborghini, there it is, 0-1 on the windscreen as it goes down Pilgrim's Drop. I think he might allow himself a smile as it accelerates through Clearways and Clark Curve onto the start-finish straight, because the checkered flag will be waiting, and it should be heading for victory. Another penalty to be converted after the race is car number 55, which is the Spirit of Race Ferrari, started by Phil Quaife, handed over to Renzo Kazi, but that is down in 24th position at the moment. But the car that's easiest to predict the position it's in has been there since the start of the race, started by Mirko Bortolotti. The number 63 Lamborghini, Christian Engelhardt, through off the Grand Prix loop for the final time, being given chase by Marcus Paltela. Nothing he can do though, because there's Christian Engelhardt sweeping through that final lovely twist onto the start-finish straight. The flags are waving and the checkered flag is taken. Victory, will it be by 3 seconds? It matters not. He's bagged the 8 points for victory. Marcus Paltela, second for BMW. Ezequiel Perez-Compay, third for Lamborghini. Fourth, Felix Arias. Fifth, Antonio Felix da Costa. And Ben Barnicoat worked so hard to get that final point in 6th place overall. Top finisher in Pro-Am has just crossed the finish line in 19th place overall, and that is Alexander Matchell for Rinaldi Racing. And also just worth pointing out, 5 places further up the road, the top Silver Cup entry, the 42 McLaren. Victory in that class for David Fuminelli, who joined the crew this weekend. But at the end of that race, there's the winner in the Prime class. Very, very tidy victory indeed for the 63 Lamborghini crew. And not just one Grasso Lamborghini on the pole, but 2. 20th place overall. In fact, it's listed as 19th on our screens, but we won't quibble. Oh yes, because we've got some penalties coming up for cars like the number 8 Bentley and the number 55 Ferrari. So yes, that's why it's moved up one position. So the cars are flagged off, and in this jam-packed programme, these drivers know they've got to do it all over again, starting at 4:15 this afternoon. Pro-Am honours to the 333 Rinaldi Racing Ferrari. Second place in class was the 87 Mercedes. There, 42 is the winner of the Silver Cup. Class 42 winning that from 85 and 55. So, job very well done. Mirko Bortolotti strides down the pit lane, looks very calm, but of course these drivers can't go too crazy. They've got the second race this afternoon. So there he is, Christian Engelhardt, tall the German driver, climbs out, but very proud indeed. Last year the Lamborghini crew started to rack up pole positions. This year it's the wins that come. They've taken victory in the opening Endurance Cup round as Christian Engelhardt showboats the cameras, and now they've taken a Sprint Cup win as well. This is new territory for the Grasso Racing Lamborghini crew. BMW should be very pleased indeed. They came home in second and fifth positions. So let's go down very soon indeed. Let's go right down, because Dakota's got straight in with the race winners.
Mirko Bortolotti, you did all the good yards yesterday. You got that pole position. You dominated qualifying. You've dominated the qualifying race.
Yes, we did. Really happy. I mean, it's a perfect weekend so far for us. Outstanding pole yesterday with a perfect lap, and really good pace in the race as well. Managed to have a good start at the beginning, and then behind they were fighting a little bit, so I could open up a little gap. The car was really good, and the team did a massive job. We had a really good pit stop as well, so we managed to get Christian back out in P1. And at the end it was getting close again with the safety car. Was a bit worried, but I knew that he had it under control and he could win it, so really happy. Perfect position to start the main race.
Good job, Mirko. Well, Christian, you were behind the wheel when the safety car came out. Had you any concerns about the advantage you had just all evaporating?
Yeah, first of all, I'm really happy for the whole team. 2 cars on the podium for Grasso Racing is amazing. The race itself, in the safety car, of course, I was worried because all the margin you have is gone. But then after the restart, I think I made a really good restart, had the gap already at the line, and then could control it to the end. Really happy.
And then the important thing is you two guys are on pole position, clear air again this afternoon.
Yes, absolutely. Really important on this track. Really hard to overtake. So let's try to make the same again tonight.
Go and have lunch and enjoy it. Well done.
Thank you.
John Watson straight in there with the winners, Christian Engelhardt, and the driver who started the car from pole position, Mirko Bortolotti. You can hear lots of cheering in the background, and that's the noise from the GRT Grasso Racing Lamborghini crew. Absolutely delighted. Their cars first and third. I don't think they came here to Brands Hatch thinking they'd get 2 on the podium. So let's go back down to John Watson. He's caught up with the second place crew of Marcus Paltula and Jesse Crone.
Marcus, you just got out of the car. You had the green Lamborghini always ahead of you, but never quite at the pace to catch it.
No, we just didn't. I mean, they were half second ahead in qualifying. They were half second faster than anybody else, even during the first stint. So we had nothing for the Lamborghini, but for the rest, I have to thank Jesse for putting us so up front qualifying. And my job was basically easy. I was just managing the gap, because when I got the car, we were on P2 and there was a clear gap to behind, and I got so I was just managing it. Obviously a little bit stressful to have safety car then for the last 10 minutes and everybody behind, but luckily I was able to pull away from the guys behind, and it was just a perfect job basically from the team. The car was good for the whole race, consistent, and again thanks for Jesse for putting us in the position to be here.
Jesse, you started second row of the grid. When the number 1 Audi had this problem, you must have had a big cheer in your mind.
No, actually I didn't know he had a problem. I passed him already on the start, and he was following me for the first lap, and suddenly he just wasn't there, so I heard he had a puncture. Obviously I'm not happy when competition has bad luck. I prefer to do it on track, but it was we had no chance for the Lamborghini, and I'm happy we finished P2.
So starting the race this afternoon, front row of the grid, is there anything you two guys can do?
We just have to go through everything and see if we can find a half a second miss into the Lamborghini and push as hard as we can.
Good job, thank you.
Very good to hear from the BMW crew, but those Lamborghinis do look incredibly effective. So slightly sort of reserved there, particularly from Jesse Crone. He had that fabulous start, got up into second place and worked hard. So let's hear from the third place crew, car number 19. John will be talking to Ezekiel Perez Compact, who brought it home, and Norbert Siedler, who kicked off.
No, but third place in the Lamborghini. I'm accustomed to seeing you in a green car, but not a Lamborghini.
Yeah, last year I did it with Ferrari, and this year I'm great to be in the team with Gottfried and Ezequiel as well. And yeah, we did a good job for the second round here in the sprint, and let's fight for a podium again in the main race.
So Ezequiel, you finished the race, but pressure behind you.
Yeah, it was quite fun. For me, it was a tough weekend, but luckily in the race I could find the pace and managed to deliver the car in P3, so really happy. With the start of the year was not so good. Like, we had the pace, we had everything, but luck was not on our side. So finally a little bit of luck, and we show what we can do. So let's hope that in the main race we keep pushing.
Keep doing that. Well done.
Thank you very much, John Watson, down with the third place crew there, and certainly Ezequiel Perez Compact had to work very hard to hold that third position. Look at the results. We know the winning car was a 63 Lamborghini, 3.75 seconds. Of course, the safety car had a role to play in that. Its margin over the well, big smiles around. Great matter of pride for Gottfried Grasser, and Jonathan Palmer brings out the trophies for Ezequiel Perez Compact and Norbert Siedler for third place overall. So for Siedler, it's also proud, an Austrian driver in an Austrian team. BMW very much in the mix, just didn't have the legs to get after the race-winning car, but big broad smiles from Markus Baltzler on the left and Jesse Krohn. They knew they did absolutely everything they could do and kept those restarts under control as well as they can. And Gottfried Grasser receiving his trophy as the entrant of the winning team. Now the biggest trophies for the qualifying races to Christian Engelhardt and now to Mirko Bortolotti. No wonder they're smiling. They're starting the next race also from pole position. The car looks good. They're starting from the best position. First part of the job is done. 8 points in the bag. Trophies aloft, but now all their thoughts will start to focus on the next part of the racing action. But of course, here's a chance just to make sure Norbert Siedler's been around the block. He doesn't want his race overalls to smell of champagne, and in fact the driver's been very good not spraying each other. Then they've got to wear those suits later today, but first blood there to the 63 Lamborghini crew, and double delight, as you can see the two green Lamborghinis beneath, because their sister car number 19 came home in third place overall. You can see the green Ferrari behind them, that won the Pro-Am class. Rinaldi Racing, Alexander Matschul took over from Daniel Karwitz, and you can just see the flashes on the roof of a McLaren tucked down there as well. That's the Silver Cup winner, SRO Motorsports, number 42 entry, David Fuminelli, taking over from Lewis Williamson, coming home in 14th place overall to take the Silver Cup class. So Pro-Am, a Ferrari win, Silver Cup, McLaren, overall Lamborghini. Great mix, as you'd expect in the Blancpain GT Series. And already we've got cars on the grid for the next part of the racing action. Still got some more podium to follow, because of course we will work our way through the classes. Lorenzo Caze coming out, running the Silver Cup class with Phil Quaife in their Spirit of Race Ferrari. They took third in class in car number 55. 85 crew, Fabian Schiller coming out, and Jules Simkovic. They started from the final position on the grid, so really anything they could pick up in this first race was a bonus for them. And top in the Silver Cup class. Here they come, the 42 crew. Wait, just waiting. This team representative, and we're waiting for David Fuminelli. He's made a great little debut for the team there, and Lewis Williamson. Welcome them out onto the podium. There's Lewis coming out second. This is the Silver Club podium. So proud winners of the Silver Club class, Lewis Williamson on the left and David Fuminelli, young Italian racer, on the right, winning for SRO Motorsports in the McLaren. So job well done, but again they have to focus on what lies ahead, have to really see if they can get up towards the top 10 in the main race. Jules Szymkowiak having his second place trophy. Fabian Schiller getting another one for his collection. So the podium ceremony is coming to an end. Let's take a look at the highlights of the race. Brilliant start from pole position by Mirko Bortolotti. The number 1 Audi on the outside and not so well away in the hands of Christopher Meeson. Up the inside went Jesse Krohn to put his BMW, but already as he went into second place there was trouble behind because unfortunately 26, Christopher Haas got it wrong. Was he pushed? Did he jump? He fell. He rejoined. But that was his race out of the window. That number 1 Audi running around at this point of the race in third position, but that was to get up a puncture, and there is not the best route through the gravel trap. Just kissed the tires, kissed the gravel on the outside. Daniel Juncadella, that lost him position, and a big spin for Stephen Kane, but he'd already had a puncture ripping the rear bodywork. The tyre dropped at the top of the paddock. He was a passenger, a good save. Then came the pit stops. It was a chance for the drivers to change over. Another runner through the gravel. That's the Spirit of Race Ferrari down at the bottom of the hill. But in the Pro-Am class, well, there was a mechanic in the car. Most extraordinary during the pit stop. Luckily got out before it rejoined. Car number 63 leading the way after the pit stops. 26 in the wars again, pushed around by the 27 Lamborghini. And then there was another contact on the approach to Paddock Hill Bend. The 8 Bentley caught the rear of the 89 Mercedes as it came up to lap the Pro-Am runners. That went for a spin. Then went the Kessel Racing Ferrari off into the gravel on the exit of the circuit. He pushed, he tried, and eventually Ben Barnicoat got through. But it was victory going to the 63 Lamborghini crew. Now the final podium of after the qualifying race. We've already got the first crew out there. That's the 39 Kessel Racing TP12 crew. Pieter Birok Bandy and the Dutch racer Carlo van Dam. Second place in the class went to the 87 crew. Jules Gounon started so strongly in the ACA ASP Mercedes. Handed over to Jean-Luc Bobelic. But the Pro-Am winners from Rinaldi Racing should be coming out shortly. And they'll be delighted with that. Daniel Kalvitz started the race. Alexander Matchell joins him on the podium. In fact, Alexander out there first. Very proud indeed for his run in the green 333 Rinaldi Racing Ferrari. And now the national anthem will be coming for the winning team. So that's the end of the podium ceremony, the main race at 4:15.